You're saying the legislation, legislation, because if they found the 39 they can't go in there. They'll leave the church on Is the left hand up, the right hand side up?
Here, no.
Somebody should acknowledge.
Okay, you can start. We're live on both. Okay, you can start. We're live on both. Next one is, I guess, in the future, the
With the 3800 building. You know, they're looking for a president, who should be president. I really don't.
So do I need to send the state to link the new name? Maybe I'll do that.
Probably, maybe send it to the whole group.
Yeah, Jim is out of range. So we can do that.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Melanie Allen's on it. He's a local. He's a local.
She's.
She owns that by just keep her.
Well,
Secondhand store.
You have a phone.
She was.
Do you have anybody on?
I have nobody online, you're the only one waiting.
Oh.
Looks like someone else just joined into the waiting room. Just saying it's a guest, not identified, so. Melanie is not a member.
No, you let them in anyway, right? I suggest.
They're in as a guest automatically.
Oh,
Let me hear you.
Josh.
George.
Definitely.
You were here last week, this was last time as well.
Yep.
And what is your name?
Keith Robert.
Were you on the Zoom
I
last?
was on Zoom last time.
Perfect. We're missing some people, huh?
we are. Jim is out of range, so he won't be here for that. And then Nancy just emailed me for link and I sent it to her and I sent it to the group and so. There's Sage, she just joined. And then this iPad 10 is, I don't know if that's Nancy or somebody else. And tell us in the chat, yes.
And I just moved Sage up to a analyst.
Very good. Well. So, I apologize for not sending out the minutes earlier, yeah. Like I said, Julie was here working on this stuff with me, so we talked about it, but I didn't, she left a couple weeks ago. And so I did not follow up on that, so apologize, we'll get the minutes out sooner to you in a timely manner, so so you can handle that. What else? I put on the agenda to elect a chair and a vice chair. I mean, we got 5 of us here tonight. So what do you want to do? You want to do that or do you want to wait?
Wait,
We should probably have a bigger panel.
Got 5 out of 9. We do have 4. And like I said, I don't know who I've had to,
I've got 10 guests, go into the chat window and identify yourself.
Okay. Fine. Let me. All right, well, we finished up last time with a whole bunch of questions, for everybody, and. I kind of just let the conversation develop as folks had questions and about planning and zoning, about the stuff that we're doing. To allow that to occur. I wanted to this time spend some time talking about how this is all going to work together. Basically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to put together these guiding principles. We're going to talk about guiding principles tonight, and that was the purpose for the notepads and the pens. Again, we're still, this is just all such new technology for us to be using. So, you know, some of these corporations you may be familiar with use these programs where you can use your phone and enter words and participate in the discussion that way. We're just not there yet. So, anyhow, so we're going to spend some time on that. Okay, so Nancy says she's on, but that the chat is disabled. So, here you go, Ruby.
Nancy, are you iPad 10 guest?
She had to email me to tell me that she's online, but
Then she needs to rename herself to identify herself.
she said that the chat is disabled.
Probably, I'm on.
Is that you, Nancy?
It wouldn't let me.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, normally it lets me enter a username and it didn't let me do it. It just went straight in.
Is that her talking?
That is.
Yeah, well, there you
I allowed her to talk.
go.
If you right click to the right of your name on the 3 dots, you should have the ability to rename yourself.
There she did it.
Done.
Nice.
I forced it.
Yeah, I didn't do it. He must have did it.
Thanks. Yeah, Vern did it. All right. So the plan for tonight then was to talk about these. What in the world is happening? Is to talk about these guiding principles and start to get some input, some ideas on things, ways that, you know, we want to see this area develop. Okay, and let me pull up the map. So again, I want you to keep in mind that we're talking about this 30 square miles, right? From 600 north down the county line road and from 3,700 over to 4,200. So when we talk about the greater Rigby area, that's what we're talking about, is this 6 sections by 5 sections, 30 square miles. And so, you know, that's where most of the old subdivisions are, and where we anticipate the new growth to continue to occur. There are some subdivisions out and about. Wherever you see these squiggly lines like this, that's where growth is, lots are being split up. So the assessor's office puts those there to identify where splits or boundary line adjustments are occurring. So, for example, this one out here in the Rigby area is a 35-acre lot subdivision. They created 35-acre parcels. It's actually not 30, it's actually 20, I don't know, 8, I think. Because they can only have 25 on this road back here. And then these ones that access the front. So, because they only have one access in there, and so it had to be 25 lots. So that's, and then some of this is boundary line adjustment. This is Mill Creek Estates. It was approved back in 2011. It's 0.6 acre lots. I'm not sure what they're going to do with this subdivision just yet. They've been talking about making some changes to it. So it's marked up because they had turned in a lot line adjustment, and they were gonna vacate this bridge right here that goes between Mill Creek Estates 3 and Mill Creek Estates 1. But it's all kind of settled down and in holding right now, waiting for them to decide what to do. And again, that's outside, that's just outside that, right? Oh, it's right before it. So 4,200 is right on the right of that. And then we come up 4,200, and that's where Red Fox is. And I mean, Red Fox is 240 lots. They're talking about developing just 180 of those. Putting the roads in for those, but that's another subdivision that was approved in 2011. Driftwood Estates, the roads are finished, it's 28 lots, and again, that was another subdivision approved back in 2011. Of course, Deer Hollow is on the other side. Deer Hollow is not developing. There's one guy owns this whole thing, and his son is building a house in there. What else?
What does the yellow represent?
So that's the 1 acre zoning.
Right.
That's the R1 zoning.
Does that necessarily mean it's been annexed into the city?
Oh, no,
Okay.
no, so we're not city, we're county, and so the stuff that you're seeing here is R1 is county zoning. The city probably has a different definition of R1 zoning. Ours is a 1 acre minimum. That's what it means in the county. I don't know. So and then the beige color is R5 zoning, which is 5 acre minimum. And then the green is Ag 10, which is 10 acre minimum. So most of the greater Rigby area is already zoned R. Yeah. Yep. Most of it's already zoned R1. We heard a zone change, right? Somewhere. Right here. These 4 lots right here. We heard a zone change to change that to suburban neighborhood. We don't have a color yet for suburban neighborhood.
What does that mean?
So back in the day, they had R1 zoning, but they would let you put in 0.6 acre lots. We don't do that now. And so we created this zone for 0.6 acre lots, but you have to be hooked into city water in order to do that, to have 0.6 acre lots. And you have to be pretty much next to the city, which they are pretty much next to the city, and city water's right there. That little square. Right there is city water. So these 4 lots apply to rezone to suburban neighborhood.
So right now they're how big, and they're gonna go to 0.6? How big are they now?
Right now, they're probably 6.5 acre lots or 5, 6, 6. Yeah. So. Anyhow, the request was to identify, all of the vacant land in this area. Oh, friends. If I can sneak up here without. Seems like incredible. Let me turn on some of this.
Question, on your suburban neighborhood, do they have to have so many acres to be able to do that, or does it matter?
Well, yeah. Certain things require acreage minimums, but no, they just need to be adjacent to city limits. We turn off the wells. We turn on the greater Rigby area, so that's the greater Rigby area. Those are the existing subdivisions in the greater Rigby area. Kind of hard to see the city of Rigby in the inside of that. They are. I turn off the subdivision, you see the city of Rigby, and then you see the area of impact, the current area of impact around the city of Rigby. And then you see the greater Rigby area, basically extending one section outside of the current area of impact for the city of Rigby. I wanted to show you. So building permits. I don't think I have anything that shows vacant lots. I mean, it shows building permits, right? But it doesn't show vacant lots. So let me see if I can get one of my guys to do that. To show where the vacant lots are and what those numbers look like. We have looked at it. Again, not specific to the greater Rigby area, but if I look at the R1 zoning, right? If I look at the R1 zoning in the county, there's a potential for additional 9,000 parcels. So we have done that kind of research on this area. But it's looking at all of the R1 zoning, which you see just small pieces of it around the county. The biggest portion is around Rigby. And so right? If everything was split down to 1 acre minimum, you'd have an additional 9,000 parcels. So for a total of 13,005. Okay. Any questions?
No, I think that would be helpful though, to see vacant lots,
Yep.
so we get an idea of how much growth there's coming.
Well, it's not so much how much growth is coming. Growth that's coming is gonna be projected by population, right? And so, I mean, we're growing at basically an average of around 1,000 people a year. And so, I mean, that's not overwhelming when you compare it to some of the cities around us and down south, right? It's not overwhelming. But to us, that equates to about 300 homes per year. And so that's what we're looking at, is we're looking at population projections down the road. Now, we've seen one projection that we found in the archives of the planning department that said that growth in 2050 was gonna be 85,000 in Jefferson County. How accurate that is, I don't know. I do know that in 2005, they projected that the population today would be 38,000 and we're at 35. And so it's off a little bit, but it's still pretty close. And so that projection was done in 2005. So, again, we look 25 years down the road, we add another 25,000 people. You know, they're gonna go somewhere. And so, the idea is with the greater Rigby area is that growth will occur in that 30 square miles. That's what we're trying to accomplish. And I think that the commissioners are on board with that idea and trying to protect the farmland outside of that. I think that we need to, you know, write guiding principles and include in the comprehensive plan for the greater Rigby area, ideas on how to continue to protect the agriculture land. So.
I got a silly question.
Yeah,
The R1 lots that we currently have, I don't believe there's a potential to divide them into half-acre lots in the future. Is that something that is going to be considered in the future to divide those 1 acre lots into half-acre lots and allow people to build 2 homes on those 1 acre lots? Or is that something that we don't want to allow?
so that's interesting. The growth pressures on existing 1 acre parcels is what you're talking about, like inside a subdivision, right? All of a sudden, we're gonna allow those 1 acre parcels to split in half. It's pretty rare. I've seen it happen, and Sandpoint is famous for that because they haven't annexed anything in the last 25 or 30 years. And so they have doubled their density several times, right? They've allowed half-acre lots where there used to be 1 acre lots. They've allowed quarter-acre lots where they used to have half-acre lots. And they've done that because they're not growing out. So they're growing by increasing density. So for them, it's a political thing. The folks outside the city want nothing to do with them, and they've made it loud and clear that they want nothing to do with them, and so that's why they've never annexed. And so,
My personal feeling is no.
well, right.
Not to break them down and allow the greater density populations to grow like that. But I was curious, one, have we considered it? Is that something that this committee is going to discuss? Is that something that we're going to help to mold throughout this process?
Yes, we should discuss that and discuss that. Where I would see something like that happening is probably on a greater level, where the land values have increased so much that somebody's gonna go in and buy 4 houses, 4 1 acre parcels, and he's gonna apply to change it to multifamily. Right? I mean, that's what you see happening in Boise all the time, right? Is they're buying single family homes and it's because the land values are so high that causes that. So yes, we can put that in as a goal and a policy for comprehensive plan and then equate that into zoning. So it is possible to do.
Okay.
So, yeah. Any other questions? Good stuff. All right. Well, and I was hoping for folks to be here. I wondered if I should send this out. I will send it out now because not everybody's here tonight. And so I'll send it out so folks can have time to think about this and provide comments back. But the idea is that we have this group discussion and individual thought process that creates these guiding principles for the greater Rigby area. We identify the values that are going to guide this development, over the next 25 or 30 years. So, so we'll put this together, and then we'll also talk about survey questions that we'll send out to folks. And we'll make it, we'll do a QR code, we'll publish that where folks can join, and we'll do a simple survey of probably 10 questions. And then come back and decide how much more we need to do. So I'm just going to kind of go over this, and now that we're kind of here, I think that probably sending this out and letting folks look at this and then maybe submitting words, ideas that answers these questions. What words or phrases best describe, what makes the greater Rigby area especially unique. I mean, there's a lot of talk out there right now about commercial development and commercial development. There's a lot of commercial property in the greater Rigby area that is already zoned commercial. Right, so some of these questions hopefully will trigger those kind of thoughts. What landmarks, landscapes, traditions, as folks continue to look for, developers look for ways to grow and do things and things that the county wants to preserve. Land use and growth management. What types of land uses are missing from the greater Rigby area that would improve quality of life? I mean, we really have the opportunity to lay out this area. I mean, what's really interesting to me is like when I go over to like the hospital in Idaho Falls, and then you go over across that road, and they have all these medical facilities. They have all different types, right? They have the foot doctor and the heart doctor and the diabetes doctors and all the different types, right? And so they've kind of created a medical field area, right? Where all those medical buildings go, which probably makes it convenient for folks that are living there. Anyhow, so that's kind of what I'm, I don't know if we need to go into that much detail, but nevertheless, that, what kind of land uses are missing. The other challenge is that when you look at that map and you see all that residential growth, is there a need for a commercial pocket every once in a while where a store should go, a grocery store or a gas station or a mini mart, or should it all be centralized, right? I don't know. We definitely do want higher density housing and mixed use development to be in areas where it's close to city limits where they have services. Now Trellis is interested in higher density housing and mixed use development. But that's all just ideas until you have sewer, water, and roads answered, right? And so, is that a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan for them? I have no idea. But you see, my point is that, you know, there's 125 acres sitting there that could have this type of a development on it. And, you know, what does that look like and how does it fit? And then, you know, how does it fit into the greater Rigby area? You know, are there areas that should be protected from development? Absolutely there are. We need to identify those areas and what makes them important. The farmland and agricultural operations preservation. You know, the board just adopted today the Agriculture Protection Act. The state implemented the Agriculture Protection Act where somebody could put their farm ground in that agriculture protection area. And it cannot be developed for 20 years. And it's mostly a deed restriction that the county notates on their map. And it's recorded in the recorder's office, and that property can't be developed while it's inside or identified as the agriculture protection area. So, there are some tools at the state level that we have adopted to try and protect farmland. It can be inside an area of city impact. You know, if property owners shows, it does have to be an acreage minimum, maybe 20 acres. Can't recall. But there are tools that would encourage that. You know, tools or policies that the county should use to discourage conversion of prime agriculture land. It's a tough one because most of the county is prime agriculture land if irrigated. So when you look at it on the soils map, that's the way it's identified is, yeah.
Five contiguous acres.
Thank you. That's the agriculture.
That's the minimum.
Yeah, 5. Yeah. That's good. Anyhow, so the fascinating thing about this county is that the water that feeds all of these farms, it goes through the greater Rigby area to get there. Right, and so the canals, you know, there's 60 somewhat canal companies in Jefferson, which most of these neighboring counties don't understand that because they don't have nearly that many. And so we've tried to protect those canals by requiring setbacks, so it's 60-foot setback for structures, trying to protect those canals. But nevertheless, the water runs through these residential areas on their way to farmland. Housing and neighborhoods, and this is kind of what we're talking about is, you know, what types of housing are needed. I will argue to the end of the line that counties are not designed for affordable housing. You know, when most people talk about affordable housing, they talk about folks that are typically working lower wage jobs. They need transportation, they need healthcare, they need, you know, groceries close by. Living in the county with a septic tank and a well and a mortgage and trying to survive. I've just never seen affordable housing work in the county. It needs to have, they need to have city services. We have people come in all the time, even in the last couple of weeks. They come in with these grandiose ideas of how they want to put, you know, we want to put in affordable housing, so we need to put 12 units per acre. It's like, guys, you need sewer and water and a road. Well, but can't we just do it? No, you can't. You have to go talk to the city, you know, Idaho Falls. So, yeah, we have these conversations quite a bit about the think that this stuff belongs out in the county, and I've just never really seen it successful.
Bring that up. Say it.
Yes, please.
I just say we do 16 per acre. Don't we?
In the city,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that's city, they have sewer and water, they have roads. Now, you know, I don't know about the other things, right? I lived in these apartments, when I first moved here for 3 or 4 months. So Caribou Street was my friend.
Oh, boy. Oh.
That's a nightmare.
That's a,
Build more of them.
that's a stain on Rigby.
It
At
is,
Caribou Street,
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
There are so many cars there.
Build more of them.
yeah.
no, it was a tough, it was
I
tough.
have to say, like, when they went with 16 per unit, like, Sugar City's 24 per acre.
Yeah.
And Madison County's like 36. I mean, we're like the lowest around here per acre.
Yeah.
And we still require green space, where a lot of the others still do not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
that's
percent,
a hard one.
what percentage is green space? Can they, 30 what?
30%.
Oh, really?
Out of the PUD, yes.
None of that, when they're right up against a single family home, none of that makes the homeowner feel any better.
No, but they now have the buffer of the R2 side by
Going
side.
from a 42-foot street to a 48,
Which is, I'm really surprised that Steve's not.
none of that helps your home value. None of that is gonna help the home value. All of our home values are gonna plummet.
Right.
None of it helps when the city council doesn't listen to your
Well-
streets or the city attorney. None of that helped. None of that helped. When they don't listen to the homeowners, when they don't listen to the citizens of the city, none of that helped.
This is where that starts. This is where listening to the public starts, is in the comprehensive plan. Because
They threw it out. If not, they didn't take it into
well,
consideration.
no, I'm not gonna argue about what happened in other places. I'm just telling you that that's where it starts.
Yeah.
It starts with this conversation,
Right.
and this is where the foundation of these ordinances begin, is here. The challenge with comprehensive plans is they can be interpreted either way. Hopefully we'll write them a little stronger, but so that is not the case, but nevertheless, they are often written to be interpreted, they have been in the past. You can justify just about anything either way. So you have to look to other things, in order to do that. And that's where the zoning code comes in. Zoning code helps with that interpretation. So what's interesting about number 2 is how should new neighborhoods be designed to feel connected to and compatible with the existing communities? With all of the canals that traverse through the county, it's created lots of cul-de-sacs where subdivisions can't connect because nobody wants to pay for the bridges that have to go over the canals
Yeah.
to connect the subdivisions.
In your
And so,
neighborhood, they didn't want to connect those by the Sundance building.
Mhm.
That was a big fight, that bridge.
yeah. Yeah, it's a challenge. The canals present, they make that connectivity difficult. And definitely expensive, not only expensive for the first time the bridge is built, but then expensive for the county to maintain afterwards. I don't know how many bridges the county has right now. I know there's dozens of them that the county maintains. And there's always replacing and applying for grants to replace and upgrade, so.
Hmm.
That's something, some of that you need to think about and putting these thoughts together. Again, the balance of housing affordability with the preservation of rural character and open space. Again, housing affordability just cannot be addressed out in the county. It's just not. I mean, it's fascinating to watch, right? A 1 acre parcel in some of these subdivisions, I think they advertised the other day on Facebook was 99.5 for a 0.6 acre lot in Teton Heights. And so, you times that by 5, you're not getting $500,000 for a 5 acre parcel. You might get $250 for a 5 acre parcel, right? And then as that goes up, you're not getting $500,000 for a 10 acre parcel, right? So see how so there's always that desire to try and decrease the lot size. So they get the higher value. But we're not trying to solve those problems in the county. But we have to look at housing density as we get closer to the city limits.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a question in all of your prompts. What about water?
Yeah,
Is there gonna be enough water for all of these houses? I mean, you see on Facebook, people are worried, is my well gonna go dry? Because I'm next to a subdivision. I mean, everyone is concerned about their wells and water. How do we, is there a way to analyze that?
there is, and we do, I don't know that it's in here, well, infrastructure. So let's talk about water for just a minute, just because you asked the question. Hunter Chase subdivision, they're proposing 161 acre parcels on 185 acres.
And where's Hunter Chase?
It's gonna be on 100 and 3,800, between 3,800 and 3,700. And so it's this parcel and this parcel. So this here and this one. Okay,
North of the old loft.
yeah, they turned in their application several years ago. And the P and Z Commission tabled their preliminary plat and asked them to go do the nutrient pathogen study and also a traffic study. In order to come back with their preliminary plat, so they'll be back in June with the P and Z Commission to have P and Z Commission review their nutrient pathogen study. Their nutrient pathogen study looked at the soils, looked at the well data around the area. So basically, the depth of the water in this aquifer under this development averages between 40 feet and 60 feet. 40 feet in the summertime and 60 feet in the wintertime. So the wells would have to be deeper than that. Typically, wells in this area average around 120 to 160 feet. Okay, so there's water there. Then they looked at the water that's moving under the ground, and the water moving under the ground is moving at a rate of 1,500 feet a day. Now, that's without any interruption. When you look at the soil types and you look at all the things that get in the way of water moving through the ground, it's actually moving 52 feet per day, which that 52 feet per day is probably one of the higher numbers in the area for water moving through the ground. So with their calculations, you could put a well every 100 feet and run it 5 gallons a minute for 24 hours, and there would be no hydraulic interference between wells because there's so much water in the ground. Okay, and that's just that subdivision. Now, we do require those nutrient pathogen studies on all of these larger subdivisions. If they're 10 acres or 10 lots or larger, 10 lots or larger, we require that nutrient pathogen study. And all of those studies have come back, and we send them off to DEQ, and DEQ engineering reviews those. And DEQ sends us a letter saying that there's no chance of contaminating the groundwater from the septic tanks, and anyhow, that's what their nutrient pathogen is all. But in the meantime, water movement in the ground.
So have we taken these analysis and combined it to the greater Rigby area
Yeah,
to
I
validate the greater Rigby area and how much water is going to be used, and has the aquifer dropped with what we currently have being used versus what the data showed before all of these subdivisions were developed?
Yeah, so there are monitoring wells out there. We'd have to talk to IDWR about some of that data. There's no doubt that there are folks, you know, that are interested in this topic. IDWR is for sure interested. With the advent of AI, we will soon be able to analyze all of those reports together. Where right now, you're right, we're looking at them one at a time. But we're working on programs that will allow us to analyze all this together.
I think if we can analyze that, that should be our deciding document for the future of what we bring to the table and what we allow. Because that will tell us what water has been used currently. And if we go back to 2005 to 1995, and we can see a trend that the aquifer was at 40 feet and 60 feet, or it was at 50 feet and 70 feet, and it's constantly going down, then we can forecast at our current rate of consumption, we could anticipate the wells needing to be 200 feet at this point. We could also say, how many homes do we have that have a well at 100 feet or less? And then we can anticipate that much more infrastructure that has to be rebuilt.
Yeah, I mean, you're making me nervous because I don't know what kind of dollars are attached to that. So we'll have to look into.
I don't know either.
Yeah, there's definitely some dollar signs attached to some of those studies to figure that stuff out. I mean, stuff that we can do locally with the information that we have, we will do. When it comes to having to hire that stuff out, it gets expensive really, really fast. So we'll just have to, you know, I'm not afraid to ask the questions, that's for sure.
But he's got a very valid point. I
Oh,
mean,
it is a valid point. The question is, are you willing to accept the answer?
Yes,
Either way,
yes,
okay,
because knowledge is power.
yeah,
And once we know the answer to that question, that will allow us as a committee and you as planning and zoning and taking it to the planning and zoning commissioners on how we're gonna move forward.
Yeah.
Because we can actually back ourselves into a corner and now nobody has water.
yeah, or the other, we have plenty of water and so then we put in, right?
But if we know that we have plenty of water, congratulations. We now know we have plenty of water and we can build and continue to expand. That's not a problem.
wasn't it you that was saying someplace they have a rule that they have to
There's all-
show 100 years that there's enough?
Yeah, same thing in Utah.
Then you have to do it in Utah as well, so.
Oh, no, I'm not afraid of it. I understand what we're asking. It's just a hydrology study. For a subdivision, it's a lot cheaper than looking at it countywide, so.
And that's where we've already had a whole slew of them done. We just need to compile those
Yep.
to give us
Yep.
an estimation.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I mean, I have to admit, I already had that idea because when we were able to break down Hunter Chase the way that we were able to, that was my first question as well. If we take all of these other nutrient pathogen studies that we have and dump them all into a computer program, right? What does that look like? So, yeah, we start Wednesday.
Good.
On looking at our data that we have, or getting our data uploaded into our program, so we're working on.
No, I believe Nancy might have been trying to ask something. I could hear
Oh.
something vaguely coming out of the software. And I think the volume in the room here was overpowering her.
Sure.
Nancy, did you have something? Looks like we lost her.
Oh,
She's no longer even in the room.
oh, shoot. Well, they can definitely ask a question in the chat if they have a question.
No, she's dropped out of the room completely, I mean.
Well, but I'm saying that for Sage's benefit.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so, yep. Not opposed to those, right? Absolutely, natural resources, environment, water resources, irrigation, water rights. How should they be considered? Well, the state's already telling us how they should be considered, really. long-term impacts, that's what we're talking about, that's good information. What level of environmental review should be for large development proposals? Right? Those are fair questions to ask, we should look into requiring more hydrology studies like you're saying. All right. Along with that then comes also economic development. You know, we're gonna have houses, we're gonna need places for folks to work. Anybody know what the graduating class is out of the high school? How large it is?
It's like 600.
2,600?
600. Is it?
600, just six.
Really? Just six?
Yeah, just about 600.
I didn't call it the rumors there. Just kidding. 600 is not a bad number. But again, you see, those are folks that, some of those are gonna stay here, right? They're gonna move into mom's RV out in the yard.
Please.
These are some of the heartaches that we deal with every day. Right, some are gonna stay here, they're gonna find jobs here, they're gonna, right? Some of them will stay here and go to college here, so. So we talk about economic development types of businesses, those are some of the things that we're, things that reflect what the community wants and I get it that, I've seen the comments too, or heard the comments that some of this commercial growth that we don't want here, we can go to Idaho Falls. I just paid $4.50 a gallon for gas. I don't know that I'd go to Idaho Falls much, but that's how some of that works. Infrastructure, public services.
What are they gonna do about county line where it's so busy crazy if they're gonna develop that by the lot? I mean, getting on and off there is a nightmare. Who's in charge of that and when are they gonna get it done? Do they wait until there's a problem?
No,
There already is
it's
a
already a problem, right?
Right.
The studies tell you that it's a level F, right? The traffic at that intersection is a level F, which is like the worst.
Okay,
And so they already know there's a problem, right? And so even before any new development comes, something has got to be addressed. We went through a preliminary plat with Trellis. We haven't heard from them since. I don't know how soon they're gonna come back with a final plat or any development plans. But they're working on stuff, but let me try not to get myself into too much trouble. We went to a presentation here just a little while ago, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, with ITD where they showed us several scenarios on how to solve that intersection and how to solve the single Rigby exit onto Highway 20 and consider an overpass there.
between them?
Yeah, so it would be, anyhow, I had pictures, but I just don't know exactly. Because I wasn't planning on talking about it tonight. So there's that. So it is being talked about. They put together 4 solutions. Another one was, because Horrocks did the traffic study, ITD hired Horrocks engineering to do the traffic study for all of this stuff. The other one was to address Highway 48 underneath the overpass, making that a 5-lane road and what that looks like and what does that cost. The other was that intersection that I was telling you about, and there were 2 different ways to address that scenario, and then County Line Road. And they presented several different ideas for County Line Road. One was roundabouts on each side of County Line Road. One was stoplights. Dang. So anyhow, it's been studied now, right? To do the 2 roundabouts at County Line Road on either side, make it 5-lane from 3,900 to 3,700 and do the two roundabouts was $16 million. So to acquire the right of way and build that. So, so these developments will pay for a portion of that. Bonneville County will pay for a portion of that. Jefferson County will pay for some of that. ITD will pay for some of that. At the same time, they're planning on turning Highway 20 into 6 lanes from Idaho Falls to Rexburg, right? And so that's probably a 10-year project to get that done. I was just thinking yesterday of the number of bridges they're gonna have to upgrade in order to turn that into 6 lanes. So there's a lot of talk being had about roads.
Good.
The county commissioners are gonna do a presentation on these solutions because they want the public's input on which ones the public think is best. I think they tried to schedule it this week, but they ran into the same problem we did. Elections has the boardroom. And so once the election's over, I think the county commissioners will do an open house and present the studies that Horrocks had presented, or have Horrocks come and present that to the community and get the public's input on how to, which are the best solutions. I mean, I think the $16 million solution was probably the cheapest. There were some that were as high as in the $30 million range. Because of the right of way they'd have to buy, like for example, Highway 48, the amount of right of way that the state would have to buy is horrendous. That's one of the reasons that bill is so high. And so, yeah, what's the best solution? I think they presented 4 different scenarios and then scenarios inside of that. So, so that's coming.
Good.
Yep.
Well, I know I was on Saturday, I drove through Rigby. It was like 3 p.m. There were so many cars at every intersection. I was like, you couldn't make a left. I was so surprised at how congested. And this is Saturday at 3.
Well, and so what happens with high density housing is, again, that green space. I mean, I'm pleased that the city has, green space requirements. Because that allows for the immediate needs, right? The kids to go play, right? But when they're looking for a bigger adventure, they're gonna go, they're gonna go to the lake, they're gonna go, to other places, they're gonna go to the city parks and the bigger event areas. And then of course, then because it is a city and there's folks grouped together, people are having events of all kinds. I don't think the lake had events this Saturday, but they did a week ago Saturday, right? Where they did the Cinco de Mayo run, something like that. I mean, so there's events out there. That's the challenge with high density housing is you take away that acre of, everybody has to stay home and mow the lawns on Saturday and do chores. Whereas they live in an apartment, they don't have to mow the lawn and do chores, and so they go play somewhere. And that's what that creates. And so you have to address it. In Sandpoint, I lived on a 5,000 square foot lot. I lived a mile from the lake. I could walk to the lake, carry my kayak on my back. I mean, it was awesome, right? And so that's what folks are doing. They're looking for a place to go have an activity because they live in this cubicle. So, so that's why we were out there so busy on Saturday, and you're gonna see that also. What else do I need to talk about? So let me put this back up. Now just kind of close this out. So like I said, I'll send this out and if you had put together some thoughts, what I'm trying to do is create, after all, these guiding principles. We're looking for 7 to 10 sentences that that we work into a vision statement, that we work into, you know, the guiding principles for the comprehensive plan. You know, if you could accomplish one thing, what would it be? What does success look like in 20 years? What are you concerned that, you know, the plan might get wrong or overlooked? We'll take all these responses from us and we'll start to put them together into these guiding principles. And then they become this foundation. Now, we will present them to the community for public input. But also with that survey, we will be asking for similar questions that will help guide these as we move them into goals and policies, right, for the comprehensive plan. And let me make sure I answer the water questions. We were working on this for sewer density and we wanted to try and understand, you know, as we put septics in on these 0.6 acre parcels, what is the impact of that, right? And we just ran into obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. The biggest one is that the health department and their record keeping system is really poor. So with the AI stuff that we're looking at doing, we might be able to get their data on a drive and then drop it into the AI and basically the county's bought an access to an AI program that quarantines all the county data. And so it's not blended with the world. It's just Jefferson County's data. And so then we can look at it as just Jefferson County. We're going to start working on that on Wednesday. Hopefully we'll be able to use the map as part of that, right? So, yeah, there's just lots we're working on to try and help these decisions become better. So what are your thoughts?
What about emergency services?
Yes.
Like jail expansion and all that with population growth?
Yeah.
I think some of that was already addressed with Central Fire expanding. It was in the last election, right?
Yeah, we added an ambulance service.
So we had a ALS ambulance service.
Yeah.
So with that passing, that should increase capabilities. To my knowledge, nobody said anything about the jail yet. Or
Right, you're right, we have not. And one of the things that you wanna look at when you look at this is that, so it goes back to the same thing with water, right? We have a level of service that we're maintaining, right? And we wanna make sure that as growth increases, that level of service stays the same. Or even gets better, and sometimes it can get better with growth. And that's the challenge with subdivisions. And that's the challenge with roads is the same problem, right? We have 600 miles of roads that we maintain. As we add new subdivisions, we are now making decisions whether or not we're going to add new roads to the road maintenance system. Because quite frankly, we can't afford managing new roads. So that one subdivision I showed you with the 35 acre parcels or the 25 acre parcels, whichever, 25 5-acre parcels, those roads are private. The county will not be maintaining those roads. And again, we're looking at that more and more as subdivisions come to us and want to develop. Is whether or not the roads are going to be public because of the challenge of that. Maintaining those roads. So we also increased the design standards for the roads. They match a lot closer to the city. So where before it was basically 2 inches of asphalt, now it's 3, and the whole design of the roads matches the city a lot closer. It's not completely the city, but it's close. So.
So if they make those roads private, whose responsibility is to take care of those?
Homeowners,
So they'd have to have an HOA established or something to take care of that?
a road maintenance agreement. So it's, they don't necessarily have to form an HOA, but they're having to do it anyway for the irrigation water. Because you can't use your well outside your house anymore in these new subdivisions. And so, so they have to put in a pressurized irrigation system, and they have to have a group, they have to manage that, right, themselves. So it's not, you can call it a homeowner association, but it's not necessarily a homeowner association, it's a maintenance group, road maintenance group, a water service group. And it's those homeowners working together to manage that, so.
And that would include snow removal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would include snow removal, and some of them, you know, some of them work together really well. And so somebody's gonna, you know, buy a plow and they're gonna have a blast, you know, plowing snow. And they're happy to do it, or everybody pays, you know, a little bit every year to pay for the snow, for the fuel. And so or who knows, last year may become a thing, maybe snow is just a distant memory.
Have they thought about doing that, like enforcement capabilities of law enforcement within, those are private roads? And then who comes in to enforce like speed limit and stuff?
That's a
Like, have they
fantastic
thought about
question.
that?
Well, that's an interesting question. The one subdivision we looked at was a closed loop subdivision, so, yeah, I don't know.
The city, they signed an agreement with the, police department to go ahead. We have, quite a few agencies in the city, and they do allow them to police force.
Yeah, that's another burden on emergency services, you know, if they're not getting any kind of revenue from that, so obviously they're gonna have to pay extra on top of property taxes for a roadway.
Well, and that tax on our emergency services. The Rigby PD has what, 9? 8? And that hasn't changed in how many years? And our population has almost doubled, in my opinion, in the last 10.
And you're talking about the city, yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
but the city works hand in hand with the county.
Yes.
Oftentimes, especially at night, you'll have one city officer and one county officer on duty at any given time. And so you have 2 people that are gonna cover down for the greater Rigby area, or even all the way out to Monthly.
So Josh, you're gonna have to educate me a little bit. I mean, we send these notices out, but I don't know that we've ever gotten a comment from the sheriff's office. So explain to me what your concerns are.
For like.
Well, for these private, for like the subdivision with the private.
So one thing I can see on like if you privatize it like that,
Yeah,
it wouldn't be considered technically open to all the public. It's open to the people that maintain that road, so the people in that subdivision.
correct.
So say you get law enforcement or you need an emergency service there, and someone's like, you can't come onto my property for that. And then we, as law enforcement, now have to battle this, is this open to the public? Is this private? Do I have to get a warrant to go across this barrier, this road, to go handle an issue within that subdivision? Now, if it's, you know, an exigent circumstance, you can have that under the warrant exception, but I mean,
Okay,
for like, say they have just like a little bit of a dispute and there's no immediate harm or anything, and they're like, no, you're not gonna come in here, or say someone on that area, they're like, we're gonna put a gate and limit traffic through here. That creates problems for emergency service personnel, even ambulance service.
I mean, part of when we're constructing or working with people when they're creating private road is you have the right of a private road maintenance agreement. And what what is included with that is that all property owners who use and who utilize and access that road, that they have to sign on to that maintenance agreement. So maybe something could be added to that agreement, like a clause allowing emergency vehicles to have access to that road. So maybe that, you know, so that way it's, all those property owners are acknowledging that emergency access is allowed.
I mean, Vern, doesn't this justify my argument of why we want these roads dedicated to the public, even though they're privately maintained?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
And there is provisions for it under Idaho Code 40-117 subsection 9, under a public right of way.
Yeah.
Even though it is a public, privately maintained road, very specifically. And I'm pointing
Right,
these
that's
statutes
still
out because you
create
guys
all
have
kinds
to
of
discuss.
dispute, even right away stuff with
Yes.
local property owners and then you get into the court situation where, you know, say police do something and then it goes through the court process and say, no, can't be doing that. And I think some of this issue, my concern is, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, but if you think about it in the emergency service personnel and that could really put the handcuffs on and limit, I guess, emergency service.
Part of it, Milton, I think also goes back to exactly what you've been talking about. That these agreements and stuff ought to be passed and accepted by the county commissioners through a resolution. So it's properly documenting it and the terms and stuff are outlined within that resolution. Because that way it defines that legal precedence. And it gives law enforcement the ability that they have something that they can rely upon at such time when it goes to court. It's not just someone's interpretation, was this or was this not done? Because that is a necessity.
Right, and I guess my concern on the whole thing is, you see this even challenged more on property rights. And it's like a big topic, you know, and again, it comes down to private, I mean, yeah, you can have agreements, but if it's private like that, do they have the authority to make that resolution? And, or is it fall on the property owner's rights again, that they get to have control of that?
yeah. We just sent that statute, that newly adopted statute to our attorney for him to review, and we have started talking about it. I still wonder if the road's dedicated to the public, that really does seem to solve that problem. It's just privately maintained. That's all they do is maintain it privately. But that right of way then is still dedicated to the public. The county just hasn't accepted it as a road for maintenance. Let me talk it over with him some more on that. There's really good comment. Because we are working on trying to figure this out. Fremont County, I think that's how they do it, is they dedicate it to the public, but it's privately maintained. So Fremont County hasn't accepted new roads for private maintenance in a long time, or for public maintenance, because they can't afford it. So. Okay. Make your comments. Okay, any other thoughts? Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
So you're looking for extra thought? Sorry, I've been quiet. I've been driving, but I'm stationary now. So,
okay,
I just been kind of soaking this all in, and I like the presentation's cool. I think getting feedback from the community is going to be awesome. One thing I keep hearing that keeps coming back up is, you know, from a county perspective, we're thinking of all these things, but then when it comes to interacting with the city, it's like, well, you know, our hands are tied. So we're just going to keep working on the county. The city's going to do what they want to do. And then, I mean, where can we, like, you know, we talked about this things to impose on the R1 zoning stuff, but if the city comes in and says, well, we're annexing out to that next, you know, section of the grid, well, then all of our work's lost because they're just gonna do what they want on anyways. And is there any way to get everybody at the table moving in the same direction for the like, you know, with the same thought process in mind?
Yeah, and I think that this will lead to that even more than we are now. I mean, we are working with the city better than we ever have. And, but what you're talking about is, so if the city annexes this property, of course, that property owner, the city's not gonna annex on their own. They're gonna wait for that property owner to ask for that property to be annexed. And so, so to have the city, you know, by statute has gotta, to have that all worked out. The solution that you're looking for is the area of impact agreement, where we sit down and we determine the area of impact agreement, that our goals for the comprehensive plan match. And then we create zoning that the city's happy with, and we adopt zoning ordinances that would create that land so it matches what the city wants. So we're not doing something, you know, that they're not going to allow. Usually though, when folks annex, they're wanting that higher density, and they're wanting, they're typically not gonna adopt or annex 1 acre parcels because the cost of services is so high. And so they're gonna look for, unless the developer, you know, puts in 1 acre lots and runs sewer and water lines and roads, right? It's just that typically they're gonna go into the city because they want the higher density. So I don't know if I'm answering your question. but it's
Yeah,
not
you
so-
are, absolutely. It makes a lot more sense. What I was thinking is they can't, so let's say you got one guy that holds out right in the middle of everything, and they need that piece of property to run utilities, and he says, I don't want to be annexed. Is there an eminent domain thing where they don't have a choice?
Well, we could definitely get utilities there, usually through the right of way, right? But the challenge for the city to force annex, those statutes have been rewritten to where it's pretty much impossible for a city to force annex. It requires, you know, so many people agreeing for that to occur. So that's usually why, for the last couple of years and for the next millennia, you're gonna see, the cities waiting for property owners to ask to annex.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a tough one, unless somebody decides to run for the state legislature and change the annexation laws. Did I say that? Tough,
So back to those private roads again, just a thought of,
yeah.
that's like a new concept to me a little bit, but say you have a subdivision, you have several people in there that do not pay, like, will the county just let them go into disrepair? If not, say you only have a few families that, again, are working on snow removal, maintaining that, and they were like, we're done carrying the bill for everyone. How does that work?
If it's an HOA, typically an HOA will
They just put a lien on your property,
lien the home,
but it still
building
doesn't
property.
cover the thing, right? I mean, they'd have to hire attorneys and all that to go after certain individuals.
And if it becomes an HOA, then they'll lien homes, they'll actually use their home, will go into foreclosure.
Right, but this isn't an HOA thing, right?
Well,
It's more
I
like
mean, come on,
put together.
they're all legal agreements, right? They're written by attorneys that have road maintenance agreement, water association, users association, water users association. They're all those types of agreements. With private roads, the county cannot work on private roads unless there is an emergency declared.
So have they discussed if it goes into disrepair, how that looks?
It's not the county responsibility. property owners. That's
So
the
the answer is
down
no.
the road.
So the answer is no.
Yes,
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, the council's not gonna get involved in that.
yeah, but say you have all these go that way, right? And they slowly all go into disrepair, now you have, I think, a bigger problem on your hands. If it's not maintained,
Why?
right?
It's not county property, it's not a county,
I just think of that as I think that's a big problem.
yeah. And I know some of the counties I could look into to see if they've had that problem. I know that
Is that-
Frederick County has private roads, so.
Is that any bigger of a problem than in our own individual driveways? I mean, it's a road to somebody's house and yeah, there's multiple homes off one road, but it'd be just like the county coming by your house and saying, hey, you need to shovel your sidewalk in case I have to get Granny out of your house. Like Milton's saying, I think that's it's a county problem. It's an individual problem, really, is what it boils down to. If I want to make it so that people can get in and out of my property for emergency services, and that's 100% on me. I wouldn't expect, I mean, it'd be super cool if the county would come shovel my sidewalk, don't get me wrong, but I don't see that as their responsibility.
Understand. That was some of the, I mean, we had some of these discussions when we put together private roads.
Sage, would you speak again for me for a moment?
Sure, what would you like me to say?
That didn't work.
Did you miss me?
All right, so you okay if I turn this over to homework? Send this to you and you send me back a response?
Yeah.
Will you be better than the P and Z commissioner and answer my emails? Okay. Cause I mean, I can put this together and we can vote on it, you know what I'm saying, but I don't wanna be that guy, so. You guys, you guys live in the area, you understand the neighborhoods. You see the concerns, so. Did you lose Sage completely or what?
I'm not positive.
All right.
I'm still here if you can hear me.
Oh, hey, they got it to work on a different speaker.
So,
Everything was set up, we lost part of it when we moved to a different, we had to shut everything down and move into another room.
so what you're saying is you would like us to go through each of these slides, each of these questions
Yeah.
and give our feedback as how to phrase it better or things that we're concerned about.
Yes, things that, yeah. You know, what types of businesses, employers would strengthen the greater Rigby area. If you don't have any ideas, or if none of it makes any sense, then don't answer it. But yes, but you know, what infrastructure improvements are urgently needed? Again, we're looking for future parks trails. We're looking for ideas that are gonna lead to statements that work in the comprehensive plan, right? So if I pull up the county comprehensive plan. I know I'm sharing, go away. Okay, fine. Go away. All my links up here are blocked by this Zoom stuff. And as soon as I move it to the bottom of the screen, they'll be in my way again. Plans. So if I pull up the comprehensive plan, this is where we're heading, right? Is as I scroll down to some of these areas, economic development, right? Those plan for community infrastructure design that supports economic development to maximize opportunities for local production, the purchase of goods and services by residents. Right, that's where we're heading, because we're looking for goals and policies, and this will develop into those types of statements. Don't look at that one, that's a tough one. Land use. Let me give you an example. Policy 8.2, land development should focus higher population densities within city impact areas. Right, where existing community services may be more readily available. Well, that's why R1 zoning is inside the area of impact, is because of that policy right there. Now, understand that before 2020, this policy was written in 2020. Before then, a lot of that R5 zoning that you see in the county was R1. Lots and lots of property used to be zoned R1. This is why you have subdivisions, you know, in Grant, right? This is why you have subdivisions out in some of these areas that didn't used to have subdivisions because of that R1 zone. So, that's where this policy guides that zoning. So when people come to us and they say, hey, you know, I want to turn this R5 zone into R1 zoning, and we say it's not in the area of impact, don't even ask, because the county commissioners are going to deny it. Because this policy says land use should focus high population densities within city impact areas. You know, we just had somebody bring us, I don't know, 100 acres that's zoned Ag 20 out near Roberts. And they wanted to rezone it to R1. It's not in the area of impact. It's not in Roberts' area of impact. So don't even bring us that application, because the county commissioners won't. We had, again, 70 acres over by, you know, 500 north and 4,000-ish, where it's all zoned R5. Same thing. We want to zone this R1. It's not in, I said 4,000, it's not 4,000, it's like 4,300, right? Oh, no, it's outside. Anyhow, wherever it was, not inside the area of impact. They actually ran it through, and they wanted to run it through the county commissioners denied it. So that's what the policies do for zoning, is when you have policies that are written like that, that's how they guide development. And that's where we're headed with this guiding principles and trying to understand this 30 square miles, right? We're looking at 30 square miles, trying to understand the goals and policies that we need that turns that 30 square miles eventually into the city of Rigby. I know.
I'd like to.
You don't like that idea?
Yeah.
No, the city needs to grow. Years ago, they pretty well shut the city kind of down and closed them. And I think we've been working well together, trying to figure out the impact area, working on the streets, and I think it's a lot better. Most of the people want to build just outside city limits because they don't have to pay that higher taxes. They don't have to pay that. So it's a hard balance.
Yeah.
But I make sure you.
Yeah, very good. Any other questions before I let you go?
Was that for me?
Yeah, any questions?
No, I'm good. I look forward to my homework.
Okay,
When's our next meeting?
so the next meeting, thank you, is May 26th. If that works for everybody, that's Tuesday evening. Monday is holiday, so we were gonna work on that Tuesday, so we thought maybe Tuesday evening would work. And we'll be back upstairs where life is normal.
At 6 o'clock?
Yes, same time, yeah. Yeah, and if I need to bring you pizza, tell me, and I'll bring you pizza.
Well, you can always bring us pizza.
Okay, I'll bring you pizza in 2 weeks.
And this meeting is streamed onto YouTube tonight. I've been monitoring that on another monitor here. So if you want to go back and look at anything that Holmes said.
Oh, no. Did I get rid of my, yeah, yeah, this is a new thing. One of the, I always wanted to go to this, but one of the main reasons now is because this AI program we're working with will turn this into minutes for us because we have it on YouTube, so. So it'll write our minutes for us. We're kind of excited. Try some of this new stuff. So these videos will always be available on YouTube.
You should share it.
Okay, anything else? Jeff,
No, I'm good.
you good? I want to talk to you.
You do?
I want to try and understand.
There's a walking pattern,
All right,
and that considered green zone, green space.
Have a good night, everybody.
thanks.
Yeah, have a great night, everyone.
Oh, hey, thanks. Yep, you too. I need to figure out how to look at chat on.
I've got a first question.
All right, I've got 7:37 and I'm stopping the meeting.